Hello everyone, glad to have you here. We're diving into Season 5 of Diablo 4, and let's be honest, barbarians have been getting pounded harder than a piñata at a birthday party. It's definitely more the season of the sorks, not the barbs. But don't worry, today we're going to explore a build that'll make you feel like a boss again. Now I've got to warn you, this build is about as cheap as a night out with Elon Musk, so be ready to dig deep into those pockets. We're talking about a build revolving around Deathblow and the third blade's unique mechanic, which lets us turn any weapon mastery skill into a core skill. That means no more cooldown time for weapon mastery skills, so you can keep swinging like a maniac. To keep it short, this build is designed to spam Deathblow harder than your ex spammed your inbox after a breakup. Only this time, it's actually satisfying. We're cranking up the damage as much as possible. So let's jump into the build. Now, before you jump in headfirst, let me be clear, I don't recommend starting this build without the right items. It's like trying to cook a gourmet meal without the ingredients. You'll end up hungry and disappointed. But once you've got it all together, this build can clear Horde T8 and high pits up to level 135 or even 140 if you've got the kind of time and money only Musk's second child might have. First up, we have the Crown of Lucion. This is a new unique item in Season 5. It allows us to build 5 stacks while casting a skill that consumes Fury. Since Deathblow is now a core skill, it consumes Fury. So after we cast it 5 times, we get a 75% damage bonus. That's a huge damage boost. Next, let's talk about the chest piece. We're not using Tyrell's Might because we need this aspect right here. This aspect reduces the Fury cost of Deathblow by half. Here's the key to making it work. Healing received and resource generation rolls are crucial. I'll explain this better in a minute. The rest is pretty standard. We need a large pool of health to increase our overpower damage, as overpower damage scales with HP. Then we have strength for damage and armor. Don't worry about resistances. You're at 70% with this build, and you can use incense to go over the cap easily. Next up, the gloves. The most important role here is ranks to core skills and the aspect intercom. Unfortunately, this Deathblow build, at the time of making this video, has a couple of bugs. Better aspects like Encroaching Wrath don't work for some reason, so let's hope Blizzard fixes that soon. For the tempers, damage while berserking and earthquake duration are very important. Damage while berserking helps us reach the 30% cap on the Blood Rage glyph, and the earthquake duration ensures the earthquake generated by ancients lasts longer, giving us more damage from the Rumble glyph in the Paragon Board. Next are the Arreat Bearing pants unique. This item comes with a huge cooldown reduction on the ultimate skill, Call of the Ancients. This helps us keep the ultimate up and running most of the time, giving us that 25% damage increase and attack speed. Arreat Bearing also changes how the Ancients work, especially the first Ancient, Korlik, who creates an earthquake. Let me show you real quick. As you can see, the earthquake that is being generated comes directly from one of the Ancients, which triggers the Rumble glyph for extra damage. Moving on to the Yen Blessing boots, this is a very important item. It significantly lowers our cooldown and has resource generation as a main role. This resource generation role is extremely important for this build. We have it on our boots and ring. We want at least 38 to 42% resource generation for the build to work properly because our Deathblow, after 5 hits, will consume 175 Fury per cast. I'll explain this better during the video. Next is the two-handed mace, Overkill. Not much to say here, except that we want a greater affix on Deathblow ranks. And if you're the Prince of Bel-Air, you can try to buy a GA with strength on it too. Now the cornerstone of this build is the new Season 5 unique sword, the third blade. This is what makes the build work. Our weapon mastery skills are now also core skills that have no cooldown but cost Fury. Next is the Doombringer Mythic Unique, probably the most expensive piece in this build. You'll want as much maximum life as possible. I tried my best and could masterwork only an 85% maximum life, which is fine, but if you can get 94%, that would be excellent for the build. For our second two-handed weapon, we're using the Grandfather. Here we want to roll maximum life. It's another expensive item, so try your best to roll at least 1 or 2 maximum life masterworking rolls. Now for the accessories. First we have the Banished Lord Talisman, a very strong item for this build. We need core skill and maximum life. The rest is optional. If you have deep pockets, try to look for a triple GA Talisman. After just 2 casts of Deathblow or Hammer of the Ancients, the Talisman's effect activates, giving us guaranteed overpowers and extra damage on those massive hits. Next is the Ring of Red Furvor. Here, if you can, look for attack, speed, greater affix rolls, and maximum resource. We're aiming to have at least 180 Fury or more. Our last ring should have strength, attack speed, and life, with the Starlight aspect making this build work. Read carefully. Gain 40 of your Fury for every 20% of your life that you heal. That's why we have Healing Received and Invigorating Fury on our chest item piece, and Resource Generation on gloves, and this ring as a temper roll. Without these breakpoints, the build breaks, and you won't be able to perma-spam Deathblow. Rallying Cry Shout skill, as you know, increases Fury regen too, but we're aiming to do so even without shouts, so it's very important to have these stats. For expertise, we're running the two-handed axe. Now on to the skill tree. It's pretty straightforward. We're using Violent Hammer of the Ancients to get the 40% damage increase buff. Next is Imposing Presence for increased life, Rallying Cry for resource generation, and Unstoppable. Outburst and Tough as Nails for the Thorns proc, enabling us to use the Revenge Glyph for more damage. Challenging, Shout for damage reduction and HP. War Cry for damage. We don't need the berserking part since Deathblow already gives us perma-berserking. Booming Voice for extra shouts, duration. Prolific Fury for extra fury. This bonus is perma-active. Pit Fighter for damage. Slaying Strike for damage to injured enemies. And Expose Vulnerability to make enemies perma-vulnerable. Deathblow ranks with the perma-berserking effect for 3 seconds on each hit. Counteroffensive for some extra damage since we're perma-fortified. Call of the Ancients for the damage and attack speed buffs. Invigorating Fury for the massive heals. Then we have 3 passives that apply when using maces. We're using the Overkill unique, so we benefit from these passives for increased damage. Lastly, we have the key passive on Unbridled Rage for damage since our Deathblow is a core skill now. Next is the Paragon Board. It's pretty straightforward. We want as much maximum life as possible. Key points of this Paragon Board are Revenge, Might, Rumble, and Crusher for damage. We're using the Blood Rage Legendary node for the 30% damage multiplier. Here's a quick overview of the Paragon. Thanks for watching, and remember, have fun with the build. Big shout out to my fellow colleagues in the GMS team. You can find their YouTube channels in the description. And a big shout out to Valor Clan. Happy hunting, and I'll see you next time.